Hey, it's Mr. Freaky. Today we're diving into a strange urban legend that's been quietly circulating among hikers and local residents in Montana for years. This story caught my attention because, unlike most urban legends, there's actually some photos of what people have seen in the woods near Helena, and it's pretty weird. There's these statues out there of the Simpsons, only they look bizarre with gigantic eyes and misshapen heads. Here, take a look for yourself. Among urban explorers in Montana, there's a persistent story about an abandoned government facility hidden deep in the woods off Old Cedar Road, near Helena. The official records show that in 1991, a section of forest was designated as a geological research station, which sounds normal enough, but construction crews who worked on it remember differently. Several of them, years later, posted on various mystery forums about installing what they called the strangest playground equipment ever. The playground itself was normal, wrote one contractor on a forum in 2003. Swings, slides, the usual stuff. But then one day there were these statues brought in. None of us knew who actually delivered them, but they just showed up one day and looked exactly like characters from The Simpsons. Only something was off about the design of them. It was like the sculptor had never even seen an image of the show before. Multiple workers described the visual of them as, "It gets stuck in your head." Another refused to work near them after dark. Most of these accounts have strangely been removed from the internet, though. The facility operated quietly for 3 years. Workers at local diners and gas stations nearby would occasionally serve men in plain suits who came through in the early morning hours. They never wore badges or identified themselves, but sometimes they would overhear talk about a Project Springfield and recreational integration testing. Linda Martinez, who worked the grave shift at one of the diners, remembered them discussing something about how the groups were responding better than expected. When interviewed years later for a local newspaper article about abandoned government sites, she mentioned that the men seemed particularly interested in what customers thought of the show The Simpsons anytime it was on at the diner. What makes Martinez's account particularly interesting is what she found years later while cleaning out her attic. Among her old work aprons was a napkin where she'd written down snippets of the men's conversations. "The Marge statue is displaying a transcending resonance." The phrase transcending resonance appeared in other places too. A retired janitor from a nearby elementary school remembered government officials visiting in early 1994 carrying what looked like TV studio equipment. They were asking questions about whether kids who watched Saturday morning cartoons behaved differently in classrooms. He overheard them talking about transcending resonance while taking measurements in the school playground. The next week, the playground equipment was replaced, supposedly due to safety concerns. The facility out in the woods apparently shut down abruptly in 1994. A former security guard, speaking anonymously, claimed the immediate evacuation wasn't because of any normal circumstances. He said the military had apparently tried to move the statues 3 different times, but each attempt failed. Equipment would malfunction, people would get sick, and once the crane operator just walked away mid-job, saying he could hear them speaking to him. So in the end, they just sealed off the area and left. Over the next few decades, the story might have faded away if it weren't for the hikers and teenagers who kept finding the abandoned playground. Their descriptions remained unusually consistent. In fact, the site has become something of a holy grail among urban explorers in the area, but actually reaching it has proved to be extremely difficult. GPS devices malfunction, compasses spin uselessly. Even satellite imagery shows strange distortions around the coordinates where the facility should be. Some theorize these anomalies aren't natural, that they're leftover effect from whatever the government was doing out there. Finally, in 2019, a small urban exploration YouTube channel called Big Sky Secrets arrived at the site and attempted to document it. Their preparation video showed them marking the trail with surveying equipment, and they also took the 2 photos we currently have today. However, the channel never posted again, and after that it was taken down. Equipment from their expedition was later found scattered throughout the woods, including a notebook with a hastily scrawled entry. "They won't let us leave. They keep shifting positions when we turn around. We may not make it out of here." The most recent development came from a construction crew working on a playground renovation in Helena. While digging up old equipment, they found a waterproof tube containing building plans dated 1991. The layouts matched both the reported facility site and several other playgrounds built in Montana since then. But more importantly, they found partial documentation of psychological tests, all of which had been crossed out and marked ineffective. The original construction blueprints contained another detail that went unnoticed for years. The facility's playground layout, when viewed from above, creates a pattern similar to neural pathway diagrams. A child psychologist who examined the plans noted that such a design would subtly influence children's movement patterns, like a circuit board designed for human behavior. The psychiatrist's notes included a warning that the pattern appeared to be self-reinforcing in ways we don't understand. The playground renovation was immediately halted by an unnamed federal agency. When it reopened months later, local parents complained that their children kept talking about the yellow family watching them play. Forest Service maps still showed the section of Old Cedar Road, but trying to follow it leads nowhere. Hikers report that the trails seem to loop back on themselves. Oddly, the government has never officially restricted access to the area, leading some to suspect they're more afraid of acknowledging the statues than having individual people find them. Still to this day, teenagers in Helena dare each other to find the Simpsons statues in the woods, and urban explorers continue to seek the site, drawn by rumors of the statue's ominous influence. Perhaps the most unsettling detail comes from a retired TV executive who worked on The Simpsons during its early seasons. When shown photos of the alleged statues, he became visibly disturbed. "We never licensed anything like that," he said. "Something about them is definitely familiar, like concept art I saw once that had been requested by the government. I'm not totally sure, I just remember it was something I didn't want anything to do with." Further research into The Simpsons' production history revealed an interesting gap. For 6 months in 1991, the show's character design documents were sent to a federal agency for what was listed as cultural impact assessment. When pressed for details, network executives claimed this was standard practice at the time. However, no other animated shows from that era have similar records of government review. A final note found in leaked government files simply reads, "Project Springfield terminated. Original items cannot be contained or destroyed. Standard procedures insufficient. Recommendation: abandon in place. Do not attempt further interaction." Which suggests the government abandonment wasn't just a closure, it was a surrender. So what do you think? All I know is if I'm ever hiking in Helena, I'm probably going to stick to the marked trails, that's for sure. And I'll probably think twice before watching The Simpsons again. As always, remember to like and subscribe to my channel, as well as leave a comment if you know of any further information about these things. Have a horrific evening, everyone, and remember to stay spooky, my friends.